Okay, fine. So today's lecture is stress, strain, relations. So it's today's lecture topic is stress, strain, relations. Okay, fine. So we all know that in 3 dimension we have seen in 1D stress and strain are directly proportional. How do I know this? According to Hooke's law. If I want to take out this proportionality, I have to put I have to equate it with some proportionality constant and epsilon. So sigma is equal to E into epsilon, and we all know that this E is nothing but Young's modulus, or we also call it as modulus of elasticity. Modulus of elasticity, right? Fine. Now this is for 1 dimension. Remember, this is for 1 dimension, because in 1 dimension you have only in one direction. So if you have a simple bar like this, then stress will be in x direction. Let us say this is x direction, so this is sigma x. So corresponding to this stress, you will have strain denoted by epsilon x. Is that clear? So I can also write this as sigma x is equal to E into epsilon x, and this is only 1 dimension. If it is 2 dimension, then you see here in 2 dimension you have both x as well as y. So in x direction, this, let us take a plane, xy plane. So in x direction, so this is my xy coordinates. Okay, this is my xy coordinate. So in x direction, that would be sigma x, and in y direction the stress would be sigma y. So these are the, we know these are the normal stresses, right? Now when you have a plane, then apart from these two normal stresses, we have another stress called shear stress, and that, because this is xy plane, so that would be tau xy. So in 2D, stress becomes stress vector becomes sigma x, sigma y, and tau xy transpose. Obviously I have to write in it, because it's a stress vector, I have to write in column matrix sigma x, sigma y, tau xy, or I can write a row matrix and I can put a transpose, right? Is that clear what I'm saying? Is that clear to you all? Fine. Now this is okay, this is for 2 dimension. Now let us talk about 3 dimension. In this case, let me remind you then that sigma is not equal to E into epsilon. Okay, what is the corresponding strain vector here? Corresponding strain, corresponding to these two normal stresses, we have two normal strains, that is epsilon x, epsilon y, and corresponding to this shear stress tau xy, you will have shear strain which is gamma xy, which we have already seen, right? And we know epsilon x is dou u by dou x, epsilon y is dou v by dou y, gamma xy is dou v by dou x plus dou u by dou y, right? And this can no longer be, okay, I'll show you here. Okay, so sigma is equal to E into epsilon. For 2D, this becomes, it is not simply x. I cannot put sigma x is equal to E into epsilon x. No, that is only for 1D. Here I have both x and y. So how can I write this? I have to write in a column matrix. It's sigma x, sigma y, tau xy is equal to, okay, for time being, let us call it as E into, what is this matrix? Epsilon, strain matrix, epsilon x, epsilon y, gamma xy. What is the order of this matrix? What is the order of this matrix? 3 by 1. What is the order of this matrix? 3 by 1. Now, if I multiply these two matrices, I have to get again 3 by 1. If I have matrix like this, A, B, A is 4 by 1. If I want the resultant to be 4 by 1, then I have to multiply with the corresponding square matrix. Corresponding in the sense, if I take 4 by 4, if I take square matrix of order 4, then I'll get resultant to be 4 by 1. Say for example, I have A, B. A is 3 by 4 and I want the resultant to be 3 by 4. Then what should be the A matrix? A matrix should be corresponding. A matrix should be corresponding square matrix, that is 3 by 3. If I multiply with 3 by these two matrices, then I'll get 3 by 4. Resultant would be 3 by 4. So here in this case, I know the resultant is 3 by 1, which is the B. Let us suppose C is equal to A into B, or sigma is equal to E into epsilon. Epsilon is 3 by 1 and corresponding resultant matrix is 3 by 1. I do not know what this matrix is, right? So what shall I multiply with? I have to multiply with corresponding square matrix. So I'll get 3 by 3. So the resultant would be 3 by 1. Resultant would be 3 by 1. I hope you understand. And so the bottom line is, this can no longer be a single value. If it is sigma x is equal to E into epsilon x, then Young's modulus would be a simple value. Young's modulus will be a simple value. But here, because I'm considering two dimension, Young's modulus, this matrix turns into some matrix which is 3 by 3. For a time being, we do not know what this matrix is. Let us suppose it is 3 by 3, but we know it is 3 by 3 matrix. Now, let us consider 3 dimension. Okay, so here sigma is equal to, I no longer call it as E, but I write it as D into epsilon, because if I write simply E, then you may think like, okay, it's a simple value. It's 1 by 1. It's a simple value, not matrix. But actually, it is a matrix. D is a matrix which is 3 by 3, and epsilon is 3 by 1, and sigma is 3 by 1 for 2 dimension. Hope you guys understand what I'm saying, right? Similarly, let us consider for 3 dimension. If for 3 dimension, in the previous class we have seen the stress vector is sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, tau xy, tau yz, tau xz. What is epsilon? Epsilon is corresponding to 3 normal stresses. We have 3 normal strains, which are epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z. Corresponding to 3 shear stresses, we have 3 shear strains: gamma xy, gamma yz, gamma xz. This is 6 by 1 and this is also 6 by 1. Now, there is very important point here. Okay, so I just want you to write this. Okay, fine. Okay, so for linear, elastic materials, the stress strain relations come from, where do we get the stress strain relations? Of course, from the Hooke's law, from the generalized Hooke's law, from the generalized Hooke's law, right? For isotropic materials, and what do you mean by isotropic materials? Isotropic materials, what do you mean by that? Isotropic means properties remain same in all directions. Properties remain same in all directions. For isotropic materials, the two material properties are Young's modulus, also called as modulus of elasticity, which is denoted by capital E, and of course Poisson's ratio, denoted by nu, denoted by nu. This is nu and nu, denoted by nu. Fine. So considering an elemental cube inside the three-dimensional body, Hooke's law gives, considering an elemental cube inside the three-dimensional body, Hooke's law gives, you see here. Now, for linear elastic material, the stress-strain relations come from the generalized Hooke's law. We know stress is directly proportional to strain. For isotropic materials, there are two important properties. One is Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity, and the other one is, what is the other one? Poisson's ratio, denoted by nu. So now let us consider an elemental cube, and inside a three-dimensional body, we'll just consider an elemental cube, and let us try to write these stress-strain relations there, okay, from the Hooke's law. Fine. Now let us consider a cube like this. Okay. Now, let us suppose this is my x direction. One second. Let us suppose just a moment. Okay. So let us consider this is x direction, and this is my y coordinate, and this is my z coordinate. Okay. Now let us suppose just a moment. Let us suppose there is some tensile stress acting on the body, acting on the cube in x direction. Let us suppose this is sigma x in x direction. Now imagine, because of this tensile stress in x direction, what happens? There will be the length, I mean the x direction length. Let us suppose this is L, x direction length. Okay. What happens to this? There will be some change in length. The change in length by original length. The change in length by original length will give my strain. So when I have stress in one direction, definitely I'm going to have strain in that particular direction. So when I have sigma x, obviously I'm going to have epsilon x. Now my question to you is, do you really think that do you really think that there will be stress only in x direction? Do you really think that there will be strain only in x direction because of the stress in x direction? No. See, when you consider a body like, and if you apply a force, if you apply a stress on it, then what happens? Strain will be definitely developed in that particular direction, x direction, but correspondingly there will be strains also in y and z directions. What happens? See, this is x, and x may the strain will be developed in x because there is change in length, and accordingly there will be change in dimensions in other directions also. For example, this y dimension may change like this, or this z direction dimension may change like this. It may compress, or if the dimension will change in the other two directions. Imagine you have a rubber, and if you elongate it, the other two, on one side you have the strain, but at the same time, of course, that length will be increased in one side, because, and that you can calculate that strain change in length by original length in x direction. Similarly, the lengths will be changing, the dimension will be changing in other directions also, that is y and z. So strains will be developed in other two directions also. So in this regard, you have Hooke's law as, if you already done strength of materials course, so you'll be recalling it. Epsilon x is equal to sigma x by E minus nu into sigma y by E minus nu into sigma z by E. That minus clearly indicates that there is change in length, that the length is actually decreasing, right? So minus nu into sigma y by E minus nu into sigma z by E along with sigma x by E. So this is no longer sigma is equal to E into epsilon, remember, because that is only for one dimension. But here for three dimension, it will be you'll be writing in this way. Now what about epsilon y? What about epsilon y? Yes, epsilon y is, you'll get positive term which is sigma y by E. Correspondingly, if I apply force in this direction, if I apply force in this direction, then what happens? If I apply force in this direction, that strain will be developed in that particular direction, which is positive strain, and accordingly the negative strains will also be developed in x and z direction. So minus nu into sigma x by E minus nu into sigma z by E. What about epsilon z? Yes, you will have positive terms sigma z by E, and you have negative strains in other two directions. What is that? Minus nu into sigma x by E minus nu into sigma y by E. Right? Right? So what about your, now three shear strains are over, sigma, epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z. What about your gamma xy? If you recall your strength of materials course, then you will be knowing gamma xy is nothing but tau xy by g, where g is shear modulus, where g is shear modulus, or we also call it as modulus of rigidity, shear modulus or modulus of rigidity. And you know, if you can recall, that g is equal to E by 2 into 1 plus nu, where E being the Young's modulus and nu being the Poisson's ratio, right? So what is that? Gamma xy is equal to tau xy by g. Similarly, what about your gamma yz? Gamma yz is tau yz divided by z. I have to write it bottom, but I'm just writing here. Now, what is the next one? Last one. Gamma xz is equal to tau xz divided by g. Is that clear? Is that clear? Fine. Now, if I write this in a matrix form, see, I have epsilon x, epsilon y, I have epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z, gamma xy, gamma yz, and gamma xz. I have sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, and also I have tau xy, tau yz, and tau xz. So let me try to write this in a matrix form. Okay. So if I write that in matrix form, then what I'll get? Epsilon x epsilon y, epsilon z, gamma xy, gamma yz, gamma xz is equal to some matrix is equal to some matrix into sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, tau xy, tau yz, tau xz. Okay, so inside, what is my matrix? What is so epsilon x, the first row should be filled with the coefficients of sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, tau xy, tau yz, and tau xz of this epsilon x. Okay, so what is my epsilon x? What is my epsilon x? What is my epsilon x? Epsilon x is 1 by e into sigma x. So the coefficient of sigma x in epsilon x is, the coefficient of sigma x in epsilon x is 1 by e. What about sigma y? The coefficient of sigma y in epsilon x is minus nu by e. Minus nu by e. What about sigma z? The coefficient of sigma z in epsilon x is minus nu by e. Minus nu by e. I do not have tau xy, tau yz, tau xz terms in epsilon x. So all become 0, 0, 0, 0. Right? Now, what is the coefficient of sigma x in epsilon y? What is the coefficient of sigma x in epsilon y? Minus nu by e. Minus nu by e. What is the coefficient of sigma y in epsilon y? Coefficient of sigma y in epsilon y is 1 by e. So 1 by e. What is the coefficient of sigma z in epsilon y? The coefficient of sigma z in epsilon y is minus nu by e. Minus nu by e. I do not have tau xy, tau yz, tau xz terms in epsilon y. So that becomes 0, 0, 0. Now, what is the coefficient of sigma x in epsilon z? Coefficient of sigma x in epsilon z is minus nu by e. Minus nu by e. Coefficient of sigma y in epsilon z is, coefficient of sigma y in epsilon z is minus nu by e. What is the coefficient of sigma z in epsilon z? Coefficient of sigma z in epsilon z is 1 by e. Now, what are the you do not have tau xy, tau yz, tau xz terms in epsilon z. So all become 0, 0, 0, 0. Similarly, what is the coefficient of sigma x in gamma xy? You do not have sigma x, sigma y, sigma z terms in gamma xy, right? You do not have sigma x, sigma y, sigma z terms in gamma xy. So all three become 0, 0, 0, 0. What is the coefficient of tau xy in gamma xy? Coefficient of tau xy in gamma xy is 1 by g. Is 1 by g. If g is e by 2 into 1 plus nu, that implies 1 by g is equal to 2 into 1 plus nu by e. 2 into 1 plus nu by e. So I'll write it here. 1 by g, that is nothing but 2 into 1 plus nu by e. 0. Yes. Coefficient of tau yz, tau xz. There are no tau yz and tau xz terms in gamma xy. So 0, 0. Similarly, there are no sigma x, sigma y, sigma z terms in gamma yz. So 0, 0, 0. There is no tau xy term in gamma yz. 0. What about the coefficient of tau yz in gamma yz? The coefficient of tau yz in gamma yz is 1 by g, which is 2 into 1 plus nu by e. There is no tau xz term in gamma yz. So 0. Similarly, coefficient of there are no gamma x, sigma x, sigma y, sigma z terms in gamma xz. So 0, 0, 0. Right? What about the coefficient of tau x? There is no tau xy term in gamma xz. There is no tau xy term in gamma xz. There is only tau xz. So that becomes 0. There is no tau yz term in gamma xz. 0. There is only tau xz term. What is the coefficient of tau xz in gamma xz? Coefficient of tau xz in gamma xz is 1 by g. 1 by g is 2 into 1 plus nu by e. Right? So finally, what is this matrix? This is 6 by 1. This is 6 by 1. So obviously, you know this is 6 by 6. So this is in the form, in which way is this? This is in the form epsilon is equal to some matrix into sigma. Some matrix into sigma. I do not know. Let us, for time being, let us call this as A. Some matrix. Okay. Let us call this matrix as A. Okay. Now, in order to in order to have Hooke's law, I know Hooke's law is actually sigma is equal to some matrix into epsilon. Right? Some matrix into epsilon. I want in this form. Sigma is equal to something into epsilon. In order to convert this into this form, what I'll do, I'll multiply both sides with A inverse. So what happens? A inverse into epsilon is equal to A inverse into A into sigma. You know, matrix identity. A inverse into A inverse into A is equal to A into A inverse is equal to identity matrix. So that is nothing but that is equal to A inverse into epsilon is equal to I into sigma. If you multiply any matrix with its identity matrix, sigma is 6 by 1. Okay, what would be the order of identity matrix? 6 by 6. Only you have in the principal diagonal elements you have 1 and all the other elements would be zeros. So if you multiply any identity matrix with any matrix, you will get the same matrix. So A inverse into epsilon is equal to sigma. So now this is in the form sigma is equal to some matrix into epsilon. That matrix of course is nothing but A inverse of this particular matrix which we got. Right? So what is the inverse of this matrix? But I have to find the inverse. Fine. I have to find the inverse. Now this is in the Hooke's law form. But I do not know how to find the inverse for 6 by 6 matrix, to be very frank with you. So I'll just give you the direct matrix. For 2D, we can calculate the inverse because it is 3 by 3 matrix. But 6 by 6, I do not know, and it is very complicated. So you just take it. I'll just give you the inverse of the matrix. Okay. So this is like sigma is equal to some matrix, which is of course we know now, that is A inverse. Okay, that is nothing but A inverse into epsilon. So what is sigma? What is sigma? Sigma x, sigma y, sigma z, tau xy, tau yz, tau xz is equal to some matrix, that A inverse. That A inverse we got it as E by 1 plus nu into 1 minus 2 nu into 1 minus nu 0 0 0 0 nu 1 minus nu 0 0 0 nu 1 minus nu 0 0 0 0 0 0 0.5 minus nu 0 0 0 0 0 0 0.5 minus nu 0 0 0 0 0 0 0.5 minus nu into what is that? Epsilon x, epsilon matrix, epsilon x, epsilon y, epsilon z, gamma xy, gamma yz, gamma xz. Right? So now this is in the form sigma is equal to some matrix into epsilon. So this is your we call it as constitutive matrix. Why? Because see, this is not simply sigma is equal to E into epsilon. That will not satisfy because sigma is 6 by 1, epsilon is 6 by 1. Obviously you have this matrix should be 6 by 6, otherwise it will not satisfy. So it can no longer be an element, a simple element or a value. It should be a matrix. Just like I told you in 2D, we get it as 3 by 3, but here because it is 3D, we'll get it as 6 by 6, and that we call it as D matrix, right? So this is the stress strain relations. This is the relation between stress strain in 3 dimension. Similarly, we'll look for 2 dimension in the next class. Okay. So hope you guys understood. Thank you so much.